Uh, I'm not sure. I mean, like about.
Like last time, should be fine.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Okay, let me show. Hi, are you able to see my screen, Arun?
Yes, Asif, I can see your screen.
Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today. Uh, we are Azure Singapore community, and actually we are a part of Microsoft Singapore technical community. Under Microsoft Singapore technical community, there are a couple of other communities as well, and there are AI community, there is a .NET community, and there is this data community as well. So if you would like to join any other sessions, all sessions are announced under MS Technical Communities. So you can join our Facebook group or you can join our Meetup group. So you need to just type MSSCUG, and all our upcoming sessions and previous sessions schedules are available there. And we have also a YouTube channel, so you can, all our session recordings are available on our YouTube channel. So it's either today's session or previous sessions we have done so far, so all sessions recordings are available on our YouTube channel. If you would like to organize the session or you want to speak in our session, so you can contact any one of the organizer for either SQL group, or if you want to speak in some other community, you can contact one of us and we can link to you there. Okay, these are the few sessions we have done in past. Actually, this month is we are doing the IoT based sessions. So on April 8, we have done a session Windows IoT Core with Raspberry Pi, and this is a second part of the session on Azure. And before that, we have done also the API series. So there was a 4 part of the series done by Lohit Nagraj. So we have done end to end how you want to develop the API to the DevOps and everything there. And before that also we have done DevOps series. So if you are interested in either in DevOps or API or IoT, so you can see the previous sessions recording available there. You just need to type bit.ly Azure Singapore sessions and you can see all our past sessions on our YouTube channel. And today's session Means we have Azure IoT sending telemetry from Raspberry Pi from Arun. Arun is PM for market data analysis, and he having more than 14 years, 14 to 15 years experience in IT. He is he have a quite good experience in DevOps tooling, and he is working currently with the Credit Agricole Bank in Singapore, and yeah. So for if you are interested in sessions on Kubernetes and how to for Azure secrets, so I think next sessions, which is upcoming sessions on 6th May, may be interesting for you because we have two wonderful speakers. One is Zoran from Serbia. He is going to speak on keeping secrets in Azure for .NET developers, and another session is doing Kubernetes. Yeah, is right ahead for Azure. So on it is more on Azure Red Hat or OpenShift. So if you are interested in such topics, I think that these sessions will be very helpful. And yeah, we have also done some sessions related to IoT in previous. So if you are interested to know more about IoT, maybe you can see the recordings available on our YouTube channel. So you can go and yes, watch these sessions. Apart from that, we also have in under Azure Singapore community. There is also a data community. So if you are interested more about the data topics like machine learning with the data, auto AI, or Power BI, or data warehouse topics. So there is a Azure data community events happening on this Saturday between 12 to 4 p.m. Singapore time. So you can join the session. And there is also one event happening on same Saturday. This is if you are interested more on Power Apps. So this session is for the Power Apps guy. So you can join this session. And on 20th April, next Wednesday, there is also a session happening on the Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. So all these sessions are available on our meetup.com, meetup.com.msgug. So you can just go and search Azure Office and Data Community. So you can see all the upcoming sessions there. We also have a YouTube channel, as I earlier mentioned. It's a MVP YouTube channel, so you can go and subscribe this YouTube channel, and you can see all the recordings of previous sessions and available there. And we have also done some chart buster sessions, so this is also available on our YouTube channel, so you can just go and explore. And before hand over to Arun, there are a few reminders. Please keep yourself on mute. And if you have any questions, so you can use the raise hand feature or you can put in the chat box. And this session is being recorded. If you like the session, please spread the words on social media, on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, to or if you have any feedback, you can provide us your feedback. It will be helpful for us to improve the session. And yeah, so for me, so this thank you. So Arun, I think it's up to you.
Yes, sure. Thank you, Asif. Thank you for the introduction and the nice briefing. Let me share my screen.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, hope you can see my screen now.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Asif, for the handover. And welcome everyone, and good evening. And today's topic is going to be on Azure IoT Central. And towards, sorry, and towards the end of the session, I will also be demonstrating how to send telemetry from Raspberry Pi, basically from any device to Azure. Okay, so that's for today. And my name is Arun, and my full name is Arunagiri Gobi Sambandam. And if you would like to know about me, you can head over to my LinkedIn handler. Okay. And for today's agenda, it is going to be a short introduction about Azure IoT Central. And then I will also show a demonstration on how to create a device template and also how to basically create an IoT app in Azure IoT Central, and also how to customize the dashboard to view and monitor our devices, and how to define rules and actions based on the telemetry what we receive, and also how to provision a device, how to connect, and as well as I will show a small sample app from where we can try to send the telemetry from the device to the cloud. Okay, so that's part of our today's session, and I will be trying to run it on a Raspberry Pi, but it doesn't mean that you have to use a Raspberry Pi for this app. You can even try it in your own local PC or your laptop. Okay, and if we consider the difficulty level, it's going to be little over basic. Only I don't see there is any need to have a prior knowledge on IoT or any the computer related stuff, but except for the one where we are going to prepare a small program to run it on the device. Okay, apart from that, rest of the session should be easy to follow, and even if you do not have any prior knowledge on Azure or cloud or IoT, it should be still okay to follow the session. Okay, and as usual, I share the slide here. I will give you a few seconds to grab it, and I'll also drop the link in the chat window. Okay. So I think you might have already downloaded the slide. Okay. Just to give an introduction on Azure IoT Central, this is a SaaS-based IoT app platform. So it contains the complete suite of application or component which are required for developing IoT solution, right from database or storage to messaging or to have the dashboard and viewing experience. Everything is contained in Azure IoT Central. So when we prepare an application for IoT, you can start with IoT Central, which has a complete suite of components required for the IoT. And it's also enterprise grade solution. You need not worry about scaling. You can scale right from a few devices to millions of devices from IoT Central. Okay, and since it is quite easy and quite rapid, you can develop the solution very quickly. So you can concentrate more on the other business aspects than on developing solution on IoT. Okay, so this will save you a lot of time and money as well. So this is about IoT Central, Azure IoT Central. And if you think why we need to go for Azure IoT Central, it's mainly because of its industry-focused functionalities and templates available on hand. So if you need to start a small project on a retail industry, then there are templates available for that. So you can quickly start preparing the application, and within a day or two, you should be able to provision more devices and start getting telemetry from the devices. Okay, and it also connects quickly and easily, as well as the scaling, which I have already talked about, and it's quite secure as well, because the same set of Windows 10 security aspects are inbuilt on Windows 10 IoT Core, as well as from Azure IoT Central. And it also offers us a centralized monitoring platform to reconfigure and also to update the devices. And the pricing is quite predictable because it has a standard tier model where we have the pricing which are already predefined. So I have also added the pricing tier here. We do have three standard tiers, which are ranging from 8 cents to 70 cents a month. And you get 2 free devices to handle in the IoT Central. So based on the tier, you get more messages to handle. Say, for example, in the tier 2, you get around 30K messages per month per device. So in total, if you have 2 free devices running, then you will get 60K messages. And until you cross this threshold, you won't be getting charged. Means if you add a third device, then from there you will be getting charged. And this is based on Central US and also on US dollar, and based on current status. So it might change. Uh, so that's about the pricing tier. And one important aspect is we do have a free tier available. So this one, you can use it to kickstart your project. If you would like to start a pet project, you can use the free tier. There you can keep your application up and running for 7 days, and also you can provision 5 devices. But one restriction is you can have only one free app per account. And one more beauty here is you need not even hold an Azure subscription for this. So the complete Azure IoT Central app can be managed from the portal, and no need to go for Azure portal at all. So this is a nice feature, and if you would like to onboard on IoT and would like to try a few sample applications, it's quite easy. No too many subscriptions or signing up or credit card, nothing is required here. Okay, and one more advantage here is it will be automatically wiped off after 7 days. You need not take care of deleting the resources, whatever you have created. And since it is free, the whole the backend process, everything, components, everything, resources, everything will contain just within the IoT Central. You won't be able to see them even if you log in with the same account in Azure portal. But if you go with a standard tier, then all the resources, everything will be listed down in Azure portal. Okay. So when we try to start with Azure IoT Central, it's going to be just a 3-step process. First one is to create and connect your device, where we have to define the device template, and also the model within the template you have to define the model. We have to set the telemetries and also the commands, whatever we are going to use, and also the properties and the cloud properties, everything you can set it in the template. That's the first step, and the next step is to configure rules and actions and alerts. So that is going to be the second step. And once that is done, then you will have a lot of flexibility to handle the data. So once the data starts streaming into the device, then you can export it, or you can connect with Power Platform, or you can connect with other Azure resources and handle them in a more flexible way. So this is going to be quick. I think so. You need not have any prior experience on this. So let's try to build an Azure IoT Central application. I will go on a small demo rather than following a slide. So this will be easy. As a first step, you have to head over to the apps.azure IoT Central, and where we can sign in and also start creating an app. And I will come back to the slide later after maybe a part of the demo is done. I will come back here to give a kind of a quick recap. So we'll use the slide for recapping the steps whatever we are learning now. So I'm going to bring in my browser. So here is the app portal, the Azure IoT Central app portal, where we can create the application. You have to sign in first. If you do not have an account, you can create. You can use a personal account, or maybe even you can use your student account if you have any, or even if you have a work account, still it's possible to connect with this portal, Azure IoT Central portal. Okay, and here you have the navigation bar where you can go to the home page, where you get some quick start guide, and as well as you have a bit of information available here. Even if you would like to watch some videos to kickstart your project, you can go ahead and start from this page. Okay. But usually when you enter in, you normally intend to create some application, or maybe you need to open your existing application. You can take it from here, My Apps, where you can browse all your existing applications and start picking up from there. Okay. So for today, let's create a new application. So you have to choose the build menu item, and you can start creating here. And when you select this option, you get options to choose either a custom application or maybe to kickstart with some existing templates. And here you have vast varieties like retail and energy or government or healthcare related templates. Say, for example, in retail, you have logistics related templates available. And if you like to have some in-store analytics, then you can choose templates from here. But for today's demo, I'm going to start with the custom app so that we can experience all the components and telemetries, everything, how to set up and start using IoT Central. So this is going to be a good place to start and explore. Okay. But if you are going for an energies, for example, if you are planning to monitor a solar panel setup, then you can kickstart from here. Likewise, you do have smart meter monitoring, and likewise in healthcare, you have few options. So for a really enterprise related solution, you can easily start from here. And these templates are not going to be static. Definitely, it keeps growing every few weeks or months. Microsoft adds more templates here. Okay, let's start creating a custom app here. So I'm going to create a free app. Maybe I will name it as Azure IoT. So this is the app name. And when you give the app name, you need to define the URL. And this URL needs to be globally unique. This app name you can it can be repeated globally, but it needs to be unique within your account and subscription. Okay. Um, so now it automatically suggests you some URL. Here it just changes them to SG IoT Central demo dot Azure IoT Central.com. So this URL you can use it to browse the dashboard and also to see the devices and also to provision and manage your devices. Okay. And even with the free tier, you will be getting all this flexibility of having an internet-based dashboard. Okay, so here you can also choose the templates. So now anyhow, we have selected custom application. So you can see standard tiers are available here from 0 to 2. So for each one of the standard tier, you also get 2 free devices to connect with. So you can, based on your requirement, you can go with any one of the standard tier, or maybe if you are trying out some pet projects or your personal project, you can start with a free one. And one another advantage here is even you can start with a free app, but later at one point of time, if you like to go with a standard tier, maybe within the 7 days, if you'd like to change, you can still change them from your admin portal. Okay, since I do not have any free application available and running here, I'm going to choose free. As I said, you can have only one free application per account. But if you delete the free application which you have already created, you can still be able to create another free application on top of that. Okay. So when you have at one point of time, you can have only one free app in Azure IoT Central. Okay, so I created. So behind the scene, it provisions all the required resources like storage, as I said, and device provisioning service, the DPS, and the queuing and messaging stuffs, as well as the dashboard and all the UI part. So it takes few seconds. Yeah, it's done. So behind the scene, you will be having a lot of resources created in Azure. But since ours is a free one, we won't be able to see it in the Azure portal. So now we have created an app and it already has a dashboard to start with. But as a very first step, what we have to do is to create a device template. Okay. So device template is nothing but a container where we define all the model, the required telemetries or commands or device property or cloud property, everything we have to define it in the template, and also the dashboards. If you would like to have a monitoring setup, we have to define everything in this device template. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new one. And when we create a new device template, we get two options, either to go with an IoT device or to go with an IoT Edge device. So when you choose Edge, then you will have additional facilities to offload some of the compute process on the Edge, and as well as it will also have features to run containers and stuffs on Edge. Okay, but for our demo, I'm going to use the regular IoT device. And you can also pick up some of the existing template based on the board which you are going to use. Here you have a lot of predefined boards available. Previously, I used to see Raspberry Pi, but these days I don't see it here. But anyhow, it doesn't prevent you in creating a custom app and define whatever you need to set it out. Okay. So I'm going to start with IoT device, not the Edge one, and I can define a name. I will give AZ maybe device template. Okay. And the next point here is to choose whether this device template is going to be a gateway device template. The gateway device is a kind of an intermediate or a bridge device, which will be acting like an intermediate between the actual IoT device and the Azure IoT Central. So one example here, what we can think of is maybe a smart speaker, where the smart speaker acts as a bridge between many other smart or IoT devices downstream. So if you are planning to prepare a device which is going to act as a gateway device, then you can go with this gateway device. Okay, but now I'm going to do with just a normal IoT device, not a gateway device. So let's go and review and create. So just few seconds, you have created the template, the base, just the name and the structure. That's all. And now you can create the model. Just to recap, we just created an app, and then within the app, we are creating a template. You can have multiple templates created and maintained in one single app. So when you create a template, you need to say whether you need to have a gateway device or a regular IoT device or edge device. All those steps you need to select. Uh, and now you have a provision to import an existing model. If you have already created a model, you can import from here, or you can create a custom model. Since for our demo, since we are going to explore a lot of things, let's create a custom model. So now the model is getting created, and within the model we need to add the capabilities of the device. Okay, so it can have telemetry, or it can have property or command. So these are the capabilities which we can add. So if you see here within the template, we have the model defined. So in the model, we are going to add the capability. Say for example, like here for our test, let's say temperature. And here the capability type is going to be a telemetry. So as I said, we have three types actually, and one is telemetry, and the other one is property, and the next one is command. Okay, so with telemetry, it's a kind of a streaming data which will be coming from your device to the cloud. Okay, so it will be here. It will be Azure IoT Central. Okay, so from your device will be streaming data frequently to the cloud. So for those cases, we have to choose telemetry, and you can have many telemetries received from a device, temperature, humidity, or pressure, this kind of steps, or you can have other parameters, like if you are having something from solar uh, panel related industry, then there could be some other telemetry you might be receiving from there. Okay, so the capability type is going to be telemetry, and semantic type. You can choose whether it's temperature or angle. You have a lot of choices here. So here I'm going to choose temperature, and within the temperature you can define the schema, whether you need to have a double or floating number, or maybe an integer or a long integer. You can set it here. Based on your requirement, you can define that. And the unit, I'm going to set it as Celsius. So based on the semantic type, you will have the filtered number of units. Say, for example, if I choose none, you will have many unit types which you can choose with. Okay, so let's keep for us, let's keep it as temperature. Okay, and Celsius. And display unit, this will be the unit which will be displayed in your dashboard. So I'm going to set it as C. Even if you would like to have some symbols, like the degree symbol, if you would like to have, you can still have it here. And if you like to have some comments or description, you can add them as well. So here the telemetry is ready. Let's add another capability. Maybe say, for example, if fan speed. Okay, let's set it as a property. So there is a bit of difference between a property and telemetry. So telemetry is a constant feed of data which will be coming from your device, whereas the property is a kind of a point in time value which you will be setting to the device, or maybe you will be receiving from the device. And there are two ways. One is a writable property and the other one is a read-only property. And if you set a read-only property, then you can just receive it only from your device to the cloud. Okay. And whereas if you set a writable property, you can set the desired value from your cloud portal to the device. Say, for example, if I would like to set the fan speed to 3, maybe I can set it as a writable property. In this way, I can set up a device portal where I can easily set the value whatever I need to have it in the device. Okay, so slight difference between the telemetry and the property. It's a kind of a desired value what we need to have in the device. For example, even we can have a property related to temperature. Maybe the actual temperature which we might be getting from the device, but whereas we can have our desired temperature defined here as a property. Say, for example, 25 could be our expected value, and whereas the actual value could be something higher than or lower than that. Okay, so that's for property. So for our example, I'm going to use fan speed, and I'm going to set it as a writable property. Okay, so I'm not going to set anything for semantic type. Also, I'm going to leave the unit and the rest of all the steps empty. So all other fields are optional here except the schema. So here I'm going to set it as an integer again, because in your fan speed I'm planning to set the minimum and the maximum value from 0 to 3. So that stuff. Let's also add a command. Okay. So here maybe the command can be to turn fan. So this can be a command. So yeah, I've defined that. If you would like to queue it, you can enable this. And if you would like to receive a request from your device, or a response from your device, and if you would like to send a request from your portal, you can enable these two options. And also you will get provision to set up the parameters. So when we request, we might need to set the parameter as well. So if you need that, you can set it out here. For simplicity reason, I'm going to just keep it as a plain simple command. Okay, and I'm also not going to enable the queuing. So if you select queuing, all the commands will be queued up. So it will be executed one by one, even if the device is offline. everything will be available in the queue, and once the device is up, you can execute all the commands one by one from the device. Okay. So now in the template we have defined the model. Let's save it. Okay, so I have saved the model, and next is a cloud property. So here in the model we have all these steps: the temperature, fan speed, and turn on. Maybe I will add one more to turn it off. Okay, so this is going to be a command as well. So I save it. Okay. Now there is one another property called cloud property. So the cloud property is just to store some information in the cloud, and it won't be pushed to the device. Okay, so it will stay just on Azure IoT Central, and it won't go to the device. Whereas here in the model, whatever property which you have defined, you can push the value to the device. But whereas the cloud property will stay just on the cloud portal. Okay. One sample scenario where we can use this is to keep the device name, where we might not really require to push that information to the device, or maybe the customer name, which we can set it here. Say for example, maybe I will just put it as a device. Okay, and whereas the actual name, it needs to be without space, because this will be used in a JSON format, so it needs to um, follow that standards. Okay, it's the same for the telemetry and the all the steps. Here we have the name, so these names will be used from the device or the client application. So when we try to set the value for fan speed, then we'll be using this name in the client device. Okay, now we have also defined a cloud property, and the next option is to customize. Here we can set some, say for example, the minimum value as 0, say 90 here. We can set it out, and also you can define a color for the temperature, the telemetry. Say for example, for temperature, maybe I would like to choose a red, and I have selected red there. And for maybe for fan speed, I'm going to set the minimum value as 0, max as 3. Maybe blue color for a fan, turquoise. Okay, so this is done. I can save this. So now we have the model defined and cloud property defined, and we have done a bit of customization here. And next is views. Okay, so here in the view we have options to create a dashboard for each one of the device. So in the template we have to define the view, and when we select the device for the corresponding template, then all these model and cloud property or whatever the customization which we have done here will be applied to that device. Okay, so when we choose a view, we have one default view which gives the raw data, and it doesn't have any fancy stuff here. So we'll just start receiving the data whenever we push the telemetry to the cloud. Okay, you can see here the temperature, fan speed, all those things are displayed here as a raw data. Okay, we'll see once we prepare the device and start pushing the data, we can see the information pumping in here. Okay, and when we need to prepare a view or a custom view, we have two options. One is to have the editing for device and cloud related data, the device property whatever we have defined in the model, and also the cloud property whatever we have defined here can be editable. So we can create a form. So maybe I will say call it as a and you can choose a layout. Either you can have one column layout or 2 or 3 column layout. I'm just going to leave it as a 1 column layout, and let's choose our device property, the fan speed, and cloud property, the device name. Okay, so I'm going to add it. Before that, maybe let's give a meaningful name here instead of um, having a space, maybe, yeah, like this. Okay, so that when we prepare a view, it will look more meaningful. Like instead of we create a kind of a variable name, it gives a customized, a proper viewable name. Okay, so I'm going to add it. So here you can see the fan space speed. Instead, we get the usual variable name kind of stuff. Okay, so now we have created a form. Let me rename it to Azure IoT form. So I'm going to save it as well. If you would like to delete any of the form which you have created, you can delete it. So let's create one another view to visualize the data whatever we are receiving from the device. Okay. So let me create a name, set a name for this, AZSGI or T, maybe a dashboard. Okay, so here in the dashboard, we can select the telemetry, what we would like to monitor. And also you can have uh, additional images, the custom image or maybe a label. If you would like to put your company name here, you can select a label and then you can add that as well. We'll see it one by one. So let's start adding a telemetry. Say let's choose a temperature, and we have added that temperature in our dashboard view. We can configure that. Say for example, if you would like to change what are the legend, whether we need to have the legend to appear on the dashboard, or if you would like to show only the x-axis, we can change that. And also we can change the display range. Say instead we say 30 minutes, past 30 minutes, let's choose past 100 values so that we can see whatever we received from the device. Okay, so I have updated that. And the next option, we can choose the fan speed to appear here as well. So let's add it um, as a tile. Okay, if you like to resize, you can resize the tile. So now we have fan speed, and maybe if you like to add have the command to turn off the device. Sorry, you can add it here. Maybe just for a better look, I'm going to put it down here. Okay, so now we have created a device um, dashboard where we can start seeing the temperature and fan speed, all those stuffs. Say if you would like to have an image to maybe to show your company logo or kind of things, you can define it here as well. And if you would like to have a label, you can add it. So, and if you need to change the label, you can configure and change it here. Okay. So you can also have a markup. Say, for example, if you would like to give some um, kind of a help text, maybe how to use the dashboard, all those things, we can set it in the markdown. Okay, and you can also have some hyperlinks shown in the dashboard. Maybe I will push it like this so that it looks much better. Okay. So now we have prepared a dashboard to view. Let me save it. And there is one another way, the default view. Say if you click on that, Azure IoT Central itself, on its own, it creates two views. One is the overview and the other one is about. Okay, let's create that. But already we have defined whatever we need, but let's try to see what it features. Okay, so you can see the overview and also about. So here in overview, you will get the telemetries listed here, and you can see the way how Azure IoT Central prepares the view. It has a kind of a KPI view where it keeps giving the exact value of the temperature, and whereas here you get a kind of a chart. Okay, so here in about you just get the device property. So this is a instead, if you would like to go quickly and create a dashboard, then you can go and just click on the default view and it creates it for you. And even if you would like to customize, you can still customize here, or if you would like to delete one of the view, you can still delete them. Okay. So all right, now we have defined the model, and we have set some cloud properties and also customized and prepared some views. Okay, the next step is to publish the view. So unless you publish it, you won't be able to uh, associate any device with this template. Okay, so now I'm going to publish this template. So it will give you a review, and we published it. Okay, so now device template is ready, and there is one option to version the device template. Say for example, if you would like to create additional capabilities, to add additional capabilities, once you publish the view, then you won't be able to modify, but you can create one more version, say the v2, and then you can add more capabilities. But still you can notice that now the all the features and everything is available like before. And if you'd like to add any new capabilities, we can add it here and save it. Okay, I'm not going to change anything here. So now anyhow we have got two templates. One is our original template and the other one is the next version. Okay, so you can publish it as well, so that when we create a device, we can try to see um, what are the templates which we can associate. Okay. So far, I think it's quite done with the template. Let's go back to the to the slide. Okay, just to recap. So as a first step, we went to the Azure IoT portal, the apps.azureiotcentral.com, and then we created a custom app. And within the app, we created templates. And even for custom apps, you can either choose a template, or you can go with a customized one. And if you would like to learn more about Azure IoT Central, you have the documents available here. Okay. So as a next step, we defined the app name. So we set the application name, and we define the unique URL to be used for our dashboard and portal. Okay, and also we have selected the template, which for now in our case it's going to be a custom one. We didn't choose any template, existing template, and you can choose either a free tier, or maybe you can go with standard tiers. Okay, and if we choose a standard tier, then we should also select the account, the Azure account on which you are going to create this IoT application. And also you have to define the subscription as well as the location where you want the application to be pushed out. Okay. But for free tier, Azure doesn't give this option. To choose your location, it will randomly select the location, or most likely it will be picking the one which is near to us. For example, for Singapore, it might be selecting the location as Asia Pacific, so that it can keep the data near to the Singapore customers. Okay. We have also seen the device templates. So the creation of a device template, we had two options. One is the IoT device, and the other one is the edge device. And also we had provision to pick a gateway device. Okay, so we just reviewed and created the template. So next step, we created the model. So where we defined the telemetry and properties and commands. As I said, we have for two types of properties. One is read-only and the other one is a writable property. So as I said, telemetry is a stream of data, whereas the property is a point in time value or desired value which you would like to have in the device. Okay. And we also have the cloud properties, which will stay just on cloud, and it is not going to be streamed from your device, or we are not going to push this property to the device. Okay. In the document, in the Microsoft document, one example what they define for cloud property is to set the last service date of the device, which we can set it in cloud property, and the other example what they have provided is to set the customer name here, and maybe the location of the device, all those things which we can set it as a cloud property, which we need not push it to the device. Okay. All right. So now we are done with the model preparation, and the next one is the dashboard customization, where we created a custom dashboard for our device template. So we created a chart to be displayed on our dashboard, how far the temperature is moving around. Okay. And the next, we also added an option to have the command dashboard, where we can trigger the commands, and we published it. Okay. And once we publish, we won't be able to modify the template. And if at all we need to have the new template, then either we can prepare a new version, or maybe you can create a new template itself. Okay, so that's done. So this is about the template. Let's go to the next step. So here I'm going back to the portal. So we are done with the template, and the next thing what we are going to do is define the roles. Okay, so let's create a new role. Say for example, high temperature. Okay, so let's create a new role called high temperature. We are going to keep it enabled, and in the device template which we need to apply this role is going to be the Azure IoT device template. Okay, all the devices whichever is falling under this device template will follow this rule. Okay, so and further, if you would like to nail down more further, you can also add additional filters here. This will be based on the cloud property and device property, where you can change and you can narrow down your rule to be applied. Okay, so now I'm not going to add up any filter here, but I'm going to add a condition. Say for example, temperature, and the operator is greater than, or maybe greater than or equals, and I'm going to set a value maybe 70. Okay, so now we have defined the rule, and have defined the condition. And if you would like to aggregate, say for example, instead of running or triggering this rule for every telemetry which you receive, you can aggregate based on time. Say for example, within the 5 minutes, if you have an average temperature, if it goes beyond 70, then you can trigger this rule. Okay, so I'm not going to aggregate. I'm just going to set the temperature and the operator as is greater than or equal 70. Okay, so this is the condition which I am going to set here. And once the condition is set, we can also set the action. Okay, here we have selected a free app. So there are few limitations in the actions. You can either have a custom webhook, or maybe you can send an email to a person. Okay, so but whereas with a standard tier, with a one which is going to cost a bit, on that you will get more options, like you can connect with a Power Platform, or maybe you can connect with Azure Monitor, or you also have one more additional stuff which I don't remember exactly. I can have this shown in one of my existing application. Okay. So anyhow, now for the action, I'm going to give maybe temperature at 2. Maybe just I'll put a test .com. Okay. So this is something not a real email ID. Okay, I'm done with that. Okay, so now I have an action defined. So now we created a rule and we defined a name for that, and we created the condition for the rule, and also we defined the action to be taken after it meets the condition of the rule, whatever we have defined here. Okay, so you can have more actions defined on top of your email. You can have a webhook which you can customize the action. So now if you define a custom webhook, you can have your own Azure function, or maybe your own third-party system to connect with your Azure IoT Central and proceed further in your actions. Okay. So we are going to stop here with this rule. I'm not going to add any more actions. So let's save. And if you would like to disable the rule at any point of time, you can come back and disable this rule here. Okay, so now we have defined the rule, and the next possible action can be to define the analytics, which you can choose the template, and you can choose the telemetry which you would like to analyze, and you can group based on the device ID or maybe the device name, and you can start your analysis. Okay. So since we do not have any data, you don't see anything here. This is for analyzing your telemetry, the stream of data what you are receiving from your client device. Okay. And you can also define jobs. It's going to be scheduled jobs. Like you can say, for example, every day by 7 p.m. if you would like to stop or turn off your device, you can create a job here. Okay, let's create one for us. Maybe again, this is standard so that I don't forget the name to use it in our client app. Okay, so Azure IoT job. I'm not going to add any description, but the device group, which you can select our template. Since we have created two templates, so both the templates are visible here. So if you would like to choose V2, we can choose it here as well. And say, for example, we need to trigger this command. Okay, turn off. And let's say next. And I'm not going to add it as a batch or enable any threshold, but I'm going to schedule it. You can do it one time. Say, for example, just you need to run it only once and forget about that. You can select that, or maybe you can choose a daily or weekly or monthly schedule. So you can define the start date from when you wanted to have this job started. Okay. And say here I say maybe 9 p.m. Singapore time, and to and you can define it maybe like after say 100 times. If you would like to stop the schedule, you can do that, or maybe you can define a date. Say after 2 days, if I would like to stop the scheduled job, we can do that as well. Okay. So you can review and schedule. You'll need to add a device because I didn't add any device, so I cannot schedule any job now. Okay. So before we prepare a job, let's create a device. Okay. So this is our next step, and in between, let's go back to our slide. Okay. So far, any questions? I'm going. I feel like
Uh,
I'm going quite fast.
no, no, I think so far no question. But I have one question here.
Okay.
Like,
Yes, Asif.
yeah, suppose if we have means like some custom devices, which is not means like when you're creating that means the device template, and that device is not available there. So how we because I think there was some select type and there was some devices there available there.
Yeah.
So uh,
Actually, for those kind of scenario, you can just select with custom device. So you
okay,
need not go for a template. Even for our demo, I've selected custom. I didn't choose any existing template of device
okay,
because even for Raspberry Pi, it's not listed there. Previously, I used to see that, but very recently it vanished.
okay.
Maybe,
So
I'm not sure. Maybe they are working for the Raspberry Pi 4, maybe.
okay, sure, sure. So that means the connection between the device, how exactly means like, is there any criteria how the connection between the device and the Azure Central will communication, how the communication will set up? Uh,
Yes, that is going to be our next demo.
okay,
So
sure, sure.
I will show how to connect our client device to the cloud. Okay,
Okay, sure.
I'll be covering that as well, Asif.
Okay, sure, sure. Thanks.
So, any questions from anyone else?
I think so.
If
Press.
not, okay. Okay, then I will just try to recap. So here we define the rules, and during the rule, when we were defining the rule, we are selecting the target devices based on the template, and we have a provision to filter, narrow down more in a more narrow way. So that is also possible here. Um, sorry, actually I lost my window. Okay, and we define the condition, and we also define the action. After it meets the condition, we can define what action we can take. And as I said, since we are using a free tier, we were able to see only two actions. One is the email and the other one is a webhook. And we do have in the paid version tier, you have Azure monitoring and as well as the Power Platform related one. And also you can connect with Logic Apps. Okay. And one point, so this is a good point which I would like to highlight. If you are mentioning any email there in the action, that email should be part of our user group in the Azure portal, the device portal itself. We need to define that email. I'll show you where. Okay, here in the admin, we have to go into the users. If I go there, I will be exposing my personal ID. So I refrain from moving there. There you can just add the user. So okay, so we can just add our email ID here. And the another point, what we need to take care is with that account, that user should log in at least once into this portal, into this application portal. Okay. Uh, uh, as you can see, our portal URL has changed. Instead of the apps.azure.iotcentral.com, now it has changed to AZSG IoT Central Demo. Okay, so to this device portal, that particular user should log in at least once, and that user should exist here. Okay, and we can define the rules, like either we can add the user as an admin or maybe a builder or maybe an operator. And here also for the application, we can customize, say if you would like to add an icon for our app, we can do that here. And if you would like to change the name or you would like to change the URL, we can change it here. And you also get the primary app ID here in this admin portal. Okay. And if, as I said, if you would like to change from free tier to standard price tier, you can change it in this option. Okay. And the device connections and a lot of other things, API token and provisioning, everything you can manage it from the admin menu. Okay, let me go back to the slide just to make sure that I haven't missed out anything. Okay, The next step is to really provision the device, which we'll do it now. Um, so now let's go into the device. Um, so until now, we just created the template. We didn't create or prepare any device or provision any device. We just created the template and model and a command, all those things, but we didn't create any device so far. Okay. Now you have these two templates available. Let's create a device. Okay. While creating a device, you have option to change the name, and also you can change the device ID as well. And also there is a provision to set it as a simulator device. Let's create one simulated device. Okay. Let's call it as a simulated device. Okay. Or maybe, and we need to select the template as well. Okay. Let's create please create. Okay. Now we have created a device, and once we create the device, you need to approve it to make it enabled. Okay. So let's approve the device. Okay. Now I have approved the device, and once you have approved, you can block the device for any reason. For example, you have a lot of customers, and some of the customers are not paying you. Maybe you can block it here. Okay, and maybe you can unblock once they uh, start paying back the dues. Okay, this is just one simple fun scenario. Okay. Um, so this is a simulator device. Let's head over to the device. You can see all the dashboards and forms, whatever we have defined, it's available here. Say, for example, this is the dashboard which we created. We added a small image, and we added a label, and as well as the device property, the fan speed, and temperature, the graph, as well as the command. Everything we can see. So raw data, you can see it has already started pumping in some values. Since it's a simulator device, it will start generating values for our testing purpose. Okay, we need not even do any programming or anything. It will start kicking in with some sample data for us. Okay, and here in the command, we can run the command to turn on the fan or to turn off the fan. Likewise, the form, since we have enable writable property, let's say like 3, the fan speed. Now, since it is a simulated device, it will take a while to push it to the actual device. So you can see that it is accepted by the device. Okay, let's go to the raw data. You can see the property which we set, the 3 is appearing here. You can even see the object, the whole object, and the minor details, everything you can see here. And the telemetry, the sample telemetries which the Azure IoT Central is pushing in started appearing here as well. Okay, so here in the form again, here in the overview, you can see 26 is the current temperature. So that is appearing. So now let's create an actual real device which we will be using it for our Raspberry Pi. Okay, let me call it as a real device. And template, I'm going to choose our base template, the SG IoT device template. And now I'm not going to select it as a simulated device. Okay. So our real device is ready, and obviously I have to approve to start using that. Okay. So now for the device, we just created a device, we just provisioned it, we have not started using it in our actual client device. Okay, before heading over to that point, I would like to show a few more options what you can do here. You can migrate from one template to another. Okay, so you can select the device and migrate from, say for example, here we have two templates, the V2 template. If you would like to change, we can change it here. And I'm not sure whether I approve this device. I'm going to approve it, and you can export the whole list of devices, or you can import the list of devices. This will be quite handy if you would like to provision quite a lot of device. You can export and get the schema, and then you can prepare it in CSV format, and you can import it in the Azure IoT Central Portal. In this way, it will reduce some of your manual tasks. Okay, so let's go into the device here. Okay, maybe one more thing I would like to show. When we go head over to the simulator device, you won't see the connection option here because it just simulates. It doesn't connect to a real device. But whereas when we created an actual device, you have an option to get all the connection related properties. Okay, you have the ID scope, you have the device ID, and also the primary key. So with this key, we can prepare a connection string. Okay, so how to prepare a connection string is the next step. I will show it as well. So here is the connection, and now if you go into raw data, since we didn't push any data from any of our device, it's going to be empty. So whereas in our simulated device, so we already have so many telemetry got into this device. Okay, and even if it crosses the threshold which we have defined in the rule, definitely that a rule will be triggered if the rule is enabled. So now for the moment we do not have anything um, going beyond 70. I didn't see any such value. Sorry, I was jumping here and there. So I didn't see any. I don't see any value for temperature value beyond 70. So our rule won't get triggered. Anyhow, I didn't give the actual email, so you won't be receiving any email now. Okay. So now we have the real device and we have the connections. Maybe now let's try to create the job. Job. Okay. Let's create the select the device template. So now you can see we have two devices available under this template. Okay. And in the job properties, let's trigger a command and say turn off the one which we tried last time. Let's keep this and enable the schedule, and maybe this time let's keep it one time. Okay. Let's turn it off tomorrow by 8:30 p.m. Singapore time. Okay, we are going to trigger the command turn fan off. Okay. Now the schedule is done. Previously, since we didn't have any device, so we were not able to prepare a job. So now we are able to prepare the job. Okay, and you can either edit the job or maybe you can unschedule or delete it completely. So now we have this device. Let's go back to our slide just to see whether I have missed anything. So yes, now this next step is to prepare the connection string. Okay. Okay. So for preparing the connection string, which we are going to use it in the client application, either we can do it in Azure CLI, or maybe we can use Node.js. There is a utility provided by Microsoft, which we can use it from our own local machine. One thing for Azure CLI, if you would like to have for that, you need to have a subscription for sure. And also there should be a small storage to be enabled. If you haven't enabled a storage, you won't be able to start running an Azure CLI shell. Okay, so now for ease of the demo, I'm going to use Node.js. Okay, so here for you can see the format is this the DPS keygen, and I have to give -di and colon and followed by the device ID, and you need to give the primary key -dk and -si with the scope ID. Okay, and DPS is nothing but device provisioning service. Okay, and in a real scenario, this is not the actual way. Say, for example, if you are going with millions of devices, then you cannot create the connection string one by one manually. You have separate service called device provisioning service, which you can use to provision millions of devices. And one thing what we need to note down here is at the time of flashing your silicon, you have to flash the certificate itself. If you need to have a zero touch provisioning, then you need to start it from the manufacturing part itself. So when we create the device, we have to embed all our certificates and the device ID and all those things in a secured a chip. There is something called TPM, which is called a Trusted Platform Module. I'm not going to discuss about that here because that itself is a provisioning and connecting a lot of a volume of a device itself is a separate topic which I will not be covering today. So there are options available. So don't think that this is the only way of provisioning a device. Okay. Let me open command prompt. Okay, I will share my screen. Okay, I have this command. So I'm going to get the device ID from the portal. Let's go to our real device. So in the connection, we have our device ID. You can either select and copy or click on the copy icon. So I'm going to replace it. And the primary key. So you can use either a primary key or the secondary one. It's up to you. There is no difference. Okay, so now the key is ready, and the next one is the scope ID. I have to take it from here. And now we have the command ready. Okay, I'm going to run it. I didn't copy it properly. Okay, now we have got the connection string. Okay, so this is the connection string which we need to use in our client application. So I have a small sample application which I have prepared. I'll also give a briefing. Maybe I will comment this out. Okay, so now if I added the connection string which we just prepared now. Okay, let's walk through this small application. Meanwhile, I would like to give a pause just to see whether there is any questions. Any doubts or any questions?
As of now, no questions. Yeah.
Okay then. Let's walk through the code. So here I just defined few public property. Don't look for the architecture and stuff. So I just prepared it just for our demonstration purpose. Okay. So here I have a connection string, in the main method. This is the one which is going to be triggered as a first step, and I have two methods which are getting called. One is the init client and the other one is the init timer. Okay, timer is not required actually. And by the way, just to give a small recap from my last session, if you would like to run solution in Raspberry Pi on Windows 10 IoT core, then you need to prepare a Windows UWP app. Okay, that's the only um, option which you can have when you would like to launch an application on top of IoT core. Okay, so I already prepared the app, and one more point to note down here, as like said in the last session, you need to set the target version or the target build to the one which you have flashed on the IoT core device. Okay, so that's something which you need to take care. Maybe if we have time, I will try to show from the scratch, but it's already available in the slide. You can have a look of that. Okay, so we have two methods which are going to be triggered on the init stage. One is the init client and the timer. And as I said, timer is just for updating the UI. I will come back again on that in a while. Okay, so in init client, if you see, we have a device client. So actually, for this application, we need to refer two of the Azure libraries. One is the Microsoft Azure.devices, and the other one is Microsoft.azure.devices.client. Okay, so these are the two libraries which we need to refer, which we can do it from our NuGet package manager. Okay, so from there we can add up these two packages. Okay, so let's go here to the CS code. So basically, I'm creating a device client. This is based on the Azure the client.device. So with that, I'm creating an object based on the connection string which we created here. Okay, and also we define the transport type. Here it's an MQ, and I'm also adding one more wiring up one more method for the event set method default handler. So whenever there is a command triggered, so this is the event which will be called up, and for that event I'm wiring up a method. So the handler is this method. So if you see here, so this is the method which will be triggered whenever I receive a command from cloud to the device. So for I think it's only two commands, two line of code which are quite important. One is the creating the client itself based on the connection string, and the next one is to wire up the event whenever we receive a command. Likewise, we need to wire up the same thing for receiving properties, which I didn't do it here for the sake of simplicity. Okay, and next thing is about the sending the telemetry itself. If you see the UI, I have defined two buttons. So button one is send, btn send, and the other one is btn dispose. So anyhow, dispose is just to dispose the client object itself. Okay, I'm not doing anything fancy there. So in the button send, I'm triggering a button send click event on click. I'm triggering this button click event. Okay, so the handle here. So for button click, I'm just calling this send telemetry async. So if you see that, this is the definition of that method. So here, nothing fancy again. I'm getting some random number. I'm not really going to read from the GPIO or sensor. So that again, it's going to take some time to explain that part. So maybe we can have a separate session to discuss that, how to read data from sensors. Okay. So here, get temperature is just a random number generator here. So I have set the max and min value, and I'm getting a random number. Okay. And the next is I'm just setting the text. I have one another text block here. This is the other text block, the txt or tele, to show the device temperature in the UI. Okay, so that I'm just setting it out just to see it from the UI what the random value what we are getting from the method. Okay, and next part is a little important here. We are creating an object. So don't this name is not important. You can define whatever name for the object you want. You can create, but this uh, field or the property within this object to be as similar to the one which we have defined in our model. So here, say for example, here saying this one, this temperature, the name, whatever we have defined, uh, to be used here in this object. Okay, we are going to convert it as a JSON. So that's the reason why it needs to match. So when it is going to stream the data to the cloud, this is the key or the way or the ID which Azure IoT Central is going to use behind this thing. Okay. So the next step, I'm just converting it into a JSON and preparing a message object based on this JSON. This is again, it's from the Microsoft.azure devices. Okay, so it's a predefined object. So I'm going to create an instance of that based on the value what we define here. Okay. That's all. Once we prepare the message, we can just send it. So we already have the client based on the connection string. We created the client object. So from the client object, we trigger a send event async. Okay. So this will send the message to cloud. So everything is done. Just with few lines of code, now we have a client application which can send or stream data to cloud, to especially to Azure IoT Central here. Okay, and I would like to show you one more part, the one related to um, the command. We wired up an event to this event. We wired up the handler. So this method is going to be the one which is going to be called whenever the event command event triggers in. So here I am just using the name. Whenever we receive a command from IoT Central, I will have the method request. So in the method request, we will have the name, as which will be the name which we have defined here, the turn fan on or turn fan off. So whenever we trigger that event, the command, so here you will get that name as a parameter. Okay, so we can use this name to customize our action. Say for example, if it is a turn fan off, then we can turn off the fan, and we can handle it. Maybe if we have the GPIO, we can turn off the signals into that IO. Likewise, if we turn it on, we can start setting it back. Okay, so this name, what I'm doing here is setting it in a variable. Again, it's a command name. It's just a string variable here. Because I cannot set it directly into this UI component, the txt fan status. The reason is the command itself is going to run on a different thread, and whereas the UI thread will be running in a separate thread. So if I try to update the UI, it will not have control, and it will raise some exception here, and it will be a runtime error at this point of time. So actually, I can put it something like this: txt fanstatus.txt equals this name of the stuff. But the trouble is this method itself is going to run on a different thread, and the UI thread will be running separately and it will not have control. So this is the reason why I created a timer. So the timer is just plain timer which is going to be ticked once in a second. Okay. So since I'm assigning this value for the name of the command here as in a small variable here. So every 1 second I'm going to scroll through that variable and set it in the text block, so that we can see what command we are receiving in our client application. Okay. So now the whole stuff is ready. Our client app is ready, and we have connected the device based on the one which we have provisioned in IoT Central. So the next step is just to run and watch. Okay. So I'm going to run it in a remote device. Actually, I have a Raspberry Pi. I'm not sure whether you can see it. I do not have any connectivity or any means. It's running on a Wi-Fi connection, and just only thing is the power connection what I have, and this one is um, to have a small keyboard just to trigger the button and stuffs. Okay. I'm going to run it here in the remote machine, which is our Raspberry Pi. Uh, it will take a while. Meanwhile, let's trigger it and then go back to the slide and review the things. Okay. I've triggered it. Let's go to our presentation here. Okay. So here in the connection, we trigger the connection, we define the device name, and we prepared the unique ID for the device. And also we set the device template for that particular device. Okay. You can have a number of devices, and you can group them based on the template. And maybe, for example, one set of device may be receiving only the temperature. Maybe there could be another set of device which might be receiving pressure or something else. So for each one of them, you might need to create a different template, or there could be some devices which might be sending all of them together. So for that, you need to define a separate template. Okay. So within the template, we are defining the model, the telemetry, command, properties, all those things. Okay, and this is the command to launch to get the connection string. And if you like to download the utility, you can head over to GitHub, Azure, and DPS Kitchen. Anyhow, I'm going to share all of them towards the end of the slide, so you can refer it back. And we got the connection string with this utility, or otherwise we can head over to Azure CLI. We can run these commands. Again, you need to set the device ID and key, all those things to get the connection string. So there are two ways to get it done. And next is the actual project itself. As I said, we need to create a UWP app and set the target as the one which we set it in the Windows 10. And the next thing is we need to refer Microsoft.azure.devices and also the Microsoft.azure.devices.client. So these are the two libraries which we need to refer in our client application. And once that is done, then you can create a client object, and you can start streaming your data from your device. Okay, and if you are going to run it from your Raspberry Pi, then you need to choose an ARM profile, and also you have to run it from your remote machine. Okay, so this is done. So we also we have seen the commands which are used to send the telemetry to the cloud. So this is the one to create the client itself based on the connection string. And the next one is to wire up the event with a method. So that's the next one, and we have the send event async. Okay. So this is just a few lines of code can do, and it can connect to cloud, and it can start streaming data. So this is the beauty of IoT Central. And as I said, you have to define the target version, and also for running it on Windows 10 IoT Core, you need to keep the minimum build as 17134. That's the bare minimum which you need to keep. So that's one point which you need to take care of. Okay, and as I said, you have to choose an ARM profile to run it in the Raspberry Pi and launch the remote debugging. Okay, and I have also spoken about the DPS, the device provisioning service, the zero touch based provisioning. And this one is going to be a just-in-time provisioning. We need not do any connection string preparation, all those steps. You can just get the device from right from the manufacturing desk, and you can connect it from there. Okay, the trusted platform module is to store the secrets. Actually, when we flash the certificates and secrets, we need to use TPM. Actually, in Raspberry Pi, TPM is not supported. Pi is a simple compute device, so it doesn't have a TPM module. The trusted platform module is not available in Raspberry Pi. But you can simulate it with a TPM simulator. That's a software-based simulator which we can use to simulate. But it doesn't mean that your secrets are really secured. The software simulator is just for our development purpose. Okay, we can run all the commands or the um, packages and stuffs on top of the TPM, but with the emulator, but it really doesn't secure your secrets with the software emulator. But you can have the hardware actual TPM to secure all of them. Azure can directly speak with this TPM. Okay, and this is the dashboard, which we have already seen that as well. Okay, let's head over back to the device. Yes, it's up and running. I'm going to open the device portal, the one which we saw in our last session. The device portal, you can get it from your the IoT dashboard. You can click on the Open Device portal. Since I have already started my Raspberry Pi PC, it's already running, and I can see the device here. Okay, so already open the device portal. This one. Okay. So from here, okay, let's try to capture what's actually visible in the device. Actually, last time I connected the second monitor to the Raspberry Pi. So now for today, I didn't connect the monitor. So this is the only way where I can see what's going on in the device. Okay. So I captured the screenshot. So it says that initialized. Say for example, if we see our code, this is the initial command which we set. Sorry, the value which we set for the variable. Okay, and the txt. Where is it? Yeah, the txt find status or the telemetry or sorry, not that one. I'm missing it. The txt tele and the txt find status. Those things are actually the one which we set in the initial stage. So it is just defaulted to the initialized. So now I'm going to use my um, keyboard. I just connected it through a Bluetooth dongle. So I'm going to trigger this send telemetry button event. Okay, so I'm just going to just press enter. Okay, hopefully it got triggered. Let's try to capture. Yes. So actually with the With this button, I just clicked on the send telemetry with this keyboard. So it got a random number 8. Let's go back to our IoT device portal. So here, let's head over to our real device. Let's see whether it got, yes. So here in the raw data, we got the telemetry, whatever we passed from our Raspberry Pi. So actually this whole small application is running on Raspberry Pi and no connectivity, just it is running on Wi-Fi. And from Wi-Fi, we managed to send the telemetry to our Azure IoT Central portal. Okay, so this 8 is now available here. So if we click multiple times, I will start getting the telemetry here. What I'm going to do is just for ease of use, I'm going to stop it from Raspberry Pi. I'm going to run it from our local machine, from my local machine. Okay, this is going to be quick. Meanwhile, let's see our simulated device. You can see it already pushed in a lot of telemetries, and you do have some scenarios where it crossed 84 threshold. Okay, so this is the app, the IoT demo app, which is just getting launched. Okay, and whereas in our actual device, the real device, we just triggered only once, and we have the raw data 8. Still it is getting up. Okay. Now we have the same app running in our local machine. So the same initialized is available here. I'm going to trigger send telemetry, and now we have 21. We can go and see back in our raw data view. So we got the 21 here. So now our connectivity is really good and it's working fine. Let's try one different stuff. Instead of sending data from our client device to the portal to the cloud, let's try to trigger a command from the device. Okay, so now we have the command, say for example turn off. Based on our program, so what we are going to do is whenever the command is getting triggered from the cloud, this is the method which will be called. And we have the method name, the command name in our method request, and I'm going to set it in this small variable. That variable is refreshed every 1 second. Okay, so because of that, this txt fan status will be updated. Okay, let's trigger a command, run. So turn fan on. Yes, it is. Okay, let's keep it side by side. Okay, turn off. So you can see actually from our cloud portal, our client device is receiving the command. Okay, you can also send parameters to the command. And in that way, say for example, if you'd like to set the fan speed to 3 or 1 or something like that, you can still pass it as a parameter here. Okay, so the whole parameter will be received as a JSON, and you can use in your client application, maybe how you would like to have. Yes, so the whole thing is working fine. So we prepared a device, and we created rules and actions, and also we prepared analytics, and also we prepared a job to trigger from our portal. And actually we scheduled it to run it on a specific time. So this is done, and we have also seen about the administration. And if you'd like to go back and get your all your list of applications, you can click on the main menu option, and here you can see all the applications whichever we have created. So this is the free app which I created. So this is the only one which we can, only one free app which we can have. The other two are paid one. So that I think we are almost done with the demo. I hope it's quite good. It went
Thanks,
out
Arun.
quite well.
Thanks.
Nice. Any questions now? Just I will wrap up with a few points just after this. If we have any questions, I'll try to answer now.
Yeah, I think someone's typing.
Okay. Meanwhile, I think we can check a few key points which we need to consider whenever we go on a IoT solution. Okay. So just have 8 key points or key attributes which we need to consider. One is the scalability. So when you go for a IoT solution, we need to make sure that it's scalable. And say for example, if you are scaling from a small set of devices to millions of devices, then you should be able to do that from your solution. Okay, and the next is device management. It should be seamless, and you should be able to manage all the devices from your centralized portal. And the next thing is big data management because you will be getting lots and lots of data because it's going to be streamed right away from your millions of devices to the cloud portal. So big data management is a key attribute which you need to consider. And the next thing is the insights and actions and analytics which we need to take care of. So your solution should consider this point as well. And the fifth one is high availability and disaster recovery because your IoT devices are going to be in lots of places, locations. And, if at all there is some disaster happens and your connected cloud platform should be able to recover back if there is any disaster happening in the data center. It should be able to recover back quickly, and your devices should be able to start sending the data back to your cloud soon. So that's something which we need to take care, and security is definitely it's a key aspect. And the next is DevOps-based solution modeling. Okay, we should be able to automatically provision, like the zero touch provisioning and just-in-time provisioning. All these things should be seamless in your solution. And again, the final one is pricing. It should be less. Obviously, the total cost of ownership should be less. That's about the
There is
attributes
one
and
question
stuffs.
here.
Yeah.
Means actually is asked by Tim. So he said, I didn't get it clear just now. You mentioned it must be UWP solutions for Raspberry Pi to use Azure Central. So means
Yeah.
if it will not work with the Python. Means like he cannot trigger
Uh,
the connection string between Raspberry Pi and Azure IoT Central with using Python script.
okay. No. Actually, it's not that because since I'm running the Raspberry Pi with Windows 10 IoT core, I have to stick to UWP. Otherwise, if you are running it on a Linux or any other platform, you can use any language or any other tool to connect to your IoT Central. So there is no restriction on that. Since my Pi is running on Windows 10 IoT core, this is limited to run UWP now.
Okay. Tim, if you have, I think you can unmute and can ask directly also. Yeah. So it depends. He's asking. It depends on Raspberry OS in this case.
Is the OS which you are running your device. Say for example, if you are running a Linux, you should be able to use .NET Core in that, and you can use C Sharp, or maybe in Linux you should be able to launch Python apps as well. So in that case, you can put up your connection string. Maybe the command things might be a little different, and also the package will be different. The library from Azure will be different. So you can just download the package and start using them.
So you mean by means like if we are running this in Python, means the client, sorry, the client should be Linux, like not the Windows 10 IoT code.
Windows 10 IoT Core cannot run Python. It can
Okay.
only run UWP.
Okay.
So that's the restriction if you go with Windows 10 IoT Core.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I think that's.
That's it. And I do have a plan to have one another session to launch object recognizer. It's yet to be confirmed. If you get a slot, I will be running this on a Raspberry Pi as well. We'll be using a cognitive service from Azure, and I will prepare a model and I will try to use it in a Raspberry Pi. Okay. And thanks for joining. And here are the references which I have used for this session. I have already shared the PDF version of this slide, so you can get all the references from the PDF. Maybe I'll try to share it back again since there are a few people join a little later. So this is the URL from where you can pick up the PDF version of this slide. Okay. And thank you very much. And if you have any feedback, please feel free to pass it on now. I do have a small URL, the tiny URL available. This is for feedback.
Thanks, Arun. Thank you so much for your
Sure.
session. And yeah. So, hi guys. If you have any questions, so you can put in the chat box also, or maybe you can reach out to Arun, or you can ask to us also. Means, so we'll help you to reply, or we will ask connect with you, Arun. And we have an upcoming session on 6th of May. So if you are interested more on Kubernetes and .NET, so that session might be interesting for you. So please help to
As
register.
if you would like to take over the screen, you can share slide.
Yeah. I think I have already shared my link, the
Okay.
registration link in the chat box. So yeah.
Thanks for hosting me.
Okay,
Thank
so
you.
yeah.